Are we ready then? Okay. It is 10:01 a.m. on Tuesday, February 11th, 2014. It's my pleasure to call to order the State of Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance Board of Funeral Directors and Bombers. Ms. Lisa Mosley, will you please call the roll?
Yes. I'm going to call the roll, and if there's anybody present in the room with you, please acknowledge who it is. Robert Helms,
Present.
Wayne Hinkle,
Present. No one's in the room.
David Neal,
Present. No one's in the room.
W.T. Patterson,
Present. No one in the room.
Jane Grace Sowell,
Present. No one in the room.
Robert Starkey, of course,
Present, no one in the room.
Miss Anita Taylor.
Present, no one's in the room.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everybody's accounted for.
Thank you. Did everyone get the recent emails that Robert sent out that Benton McDonald wanted all of us to have?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we did.
All those before us. Did everyone get their agenda if they want to look over it?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Well, from Ms. Sowell. I have a second.
Second from Wayne Hinkle.
Second from Wayne Hinkle. All I think
Actually, I'm sorry, Mr. Starkey.
I was going to say at this time we'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Benton McDonald. Okay.
Sorry to break in, but I think the first order of business is that we need to the board would need to adopt a statement of necessity, and I will provide that information to you very quickly, and then you all can vote to determine whether or not there's a necessity, and then I think at that point you can approve the agenda. After that, if you want to go back through and do that right after we read the statement of necessity, if that's okay with you.
Okay, I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
That'll be fine.
Members of the board, according to TCA 8-44-108B2, if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. Such determination and a recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based must be included in the minutes of the meeting. Furthermore, TCA 8-44-108A3 defines a necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at the meeting require timely action by the body, that physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. The purpose of today's meeting via teleconference is to discuss, first of all, the permanent removal service rules that were originally adopted in the form of emergency rules on January 3rd, 2014, and are in effect for 180 days, expiring on July 3rd, 2014. Therefore, it is critical that the permanent rules be accepted and set for a rulemaking hearing as soon as possible. Also, the board must reconsider funeral rules that are currently pending before the Attorney General's office, following a rulemaking hearing that was held in November of 2012. Likewise, this matter has been discussed with the Attorney General's office and suggested the Attorney General's representative suggested a minor clerical change to be considered by the board. And at this time, I would ask that the board determine whether or not a necessity exists.
I guess doesn't exist.
And the board would have to make a statement that the necessity exists.
Okay. We believe that the necessity exists. We have a recommendation from David Neal and a second from Rob Helms, I believe, or Wayne.
That's correct.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt again. I'm sorry. You might want to have a statement along the lines of, due to the lack of a regularly scheduled
Alrighty.
board meeting.
I will do that then.
Okay.
Due to the lack of a regularly scheduled board meeting for the month of February 2014 and the need to quickly address these rulemaking projects in a timely manner prior to the March 2014 board meeting, the board believes a necessity exists that requires this meeting to be held by telephone. Furthermore, the board should vote on the removal service economic impact statement and regulatory flexibility analysis as well. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
My second stands.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. McDonald?
We have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. Ms. Lisa Mosley, will you do a roll call vote now?
Robert Helms,
Yes, present.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Gray Sowell,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes?
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. Now, motion carries. The agenda, if we
Chairman, I
will.
move to adopt the agenda as presented.
All right. Do I have a
Second from Wayne Hinkle.
second from Wayne Hinkle?
Okay. We're going to have to take a roll call vote on this also.
All right.
Robert Helms,
Yes.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Gray Sowell,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes?
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
The agenda passes.
All right. We'll now turn the meeting back over to Mr. Benton, our legal counsel, Mr. Benton McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I will read into the record the removal services regulatory flexibility analysis. And at the conclusion of that, then the board can vote on whether or not to accept it.
All right.
The Regulatory Flexibility Act under TCA 4-5-401 requires that the prior to initiating the rulemaking process pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 4-5-202A3 and 4-5-203A, all agencies shall review all proposed rules and the effect that the proposed rule has on small businesses. The Act requires that each agency shall employ a regulatory flexibility analysis utilizing regulatory methods that accomplish the objectives of applicable statutes while minimizing any adverse impact on small business. The Act further provides that the agency shall consider without limitation certain methods of reducing the impact of the proposed rule on small businesses while remaining consistent with health, safety, and well-being, and those methods are as follows. The extent to which the rule or rules may overlap, duplicate, or conflict with other federal, state, and local governmental rules. Clarity, conciseness, and lack of ambiguity in the rule or rules. The establishment of flexible compliance and/or reporting requirements for small businesses. The establishment of friendly schedules or deadlines for compliance and/or reporting requirements for small businesses. The consolidation of simplification of compliance or reporting requirements for small businesses. The establishment of performance standards for small businesses as opposed to design or operational standards required in the proposed rule. And the unnecessary creation of entry barriers or other effects that stifle entrepreneurial activity, curb innovation, or increase costs. A description of the proposed rule: the Department of Commerce and Insurance Burial Services Section intends to convene a rulemaking hearing at 9 a.m. on April 7th, 2014, in order to consider two proposed rules designed to establish initial registration and renewal procedures for removal service companies that are required to be registered by the Tennessee Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers. The rules for removal service companies. These new rules are designed to establish initial registration and renewal procedures for removal service companies that are required to be registered by the Tennessee Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers. Without these rules, registrants would lack clarity and understanding regarding the expectations of the Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers. Removal service fees. This rule sets an initial non-refundable application fee of $350, accompanied by proof of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million. The rule also allows the registrant to renew their registration by showing proof of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million and a non-refundable fee of $250 if the fee is received by the board no later than the date of expiration. The second rule, removal service. This rule gives the board the authority to register removal service companies operating in Tennessee and allows the board to provide a form, set initial application fees, renewal fees, and minimum liability insurance. At this time, I'll read into the record the regulatory flexibility analysis, methods of reducing impact of rules on small businesses. Question 1, the extent to which the rule may overlap, duplicate, or conflict with other federal, state, and local governmental rules. These rules will not overlap, duplicate, or conflict with other federal, state, and local government rules. There are currently no rules regarding oversight of removal service companies on the federal, state, or local level. Question 2, the clarity, conciseness, and lack of ambiguity in the rule. The rules are clear, concise, and lack ambiguity. They clearly set the fees for initial applications and renewal of removal service registrations. Furthermore, in a clear, concise, and unambiguous manner, the rules set the minimum level of insurance necessary to operate a removal service company in Tennessee. Further, the rules are not open to different interpretations. Question 3, the establishment of flexible compliance and reporting requirements for small businesses. These rules provide uniform and reasonable standards for all individuals licensed by the Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers in order to assist with ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tennessee. The rules require nothing in the way of reporting requirements, with the exception of providing proof of liability insurance in order to comply with the initial registration and renewal of the annual removal service registration. Question 4, the establishment of friendly schedules or deadlines for compliance and reporting requirements for small businesses. The rules only provide schedules or deadlines insofar as they apply to the renewal of the removal service registration. The registrant would show proof of liability insurance and pay an initial non-refundable application fee of $350 at the time of initial registration. Thereafter, a non-refundable renewal fee of $250 would be accepted by the board as long as the fee is received no later than the date of expiration. Question 5, the consolidation or simplification of compliance or reporting requirements for small businesses. These rules require very little in the way of compliance and reporting. After being approved for an initial application, the removal service business may pay a lower fee on renewal than the initial application, and as long as the company shows continued compliance with the minimum liability requirement, and the renewal fee is received by the board no later than the date of expiration. Number 6, the establishment of performance standards for small businesses as opposed to design or operational standards required in the proposed rule. These rules set the fees for initial applications and renewal of removal service registrations, as well as the minimum level of insurance necessary to operate a removal service company in Tennessee. They do not set out design or operational standards. As such, the purpose of these rules could not be met by the implementation of performance standards for small businesses. And question 7, barriers or other effects that stifle entrepreneurial activity, curb innovation, or increase costs. These rules do not result in the unnecessary creation of entry barriers or other effects that will stifle entrepreneurial activity, curb innovation, or increase costs. The board considered these fees to be reasonable to cover the cost of operating the program, and they're comparable to other programs similarly structured. Furthermore, the board determined that the minimum level of liability insurance of $1 million was sufficient after initially considering $2 million. And believe that concludes the regulatory flexibility analysis, and at this time it would be up to the board to determine whether or not to accept that analysis.
Motion to accept from Wayne Hinkle.
Second by Anita Taylor.
I have a motion from Wayne Hinkle to accept, second by Anita Taylor. Ms. Lisa Mosley, will you call the roll, please?
Excuse me, I have a question.
Okay, a question to call for.
I think it goes back to the question number 3, where he was reading this. I do not have it in front of me, but the use of the word license. We're not licensing these companies, are we? I thought this was simply a registration and proof of insurance.
Well, at this time, I would just recommend that if the board sees fit, they can ask that be changed from license to registration. I believe that was just a mere oversight.
When I heard that word, and I thought I didn't think we were issuing a license.
No, ma'am, you're not. It's a registration program.
Okay, that was my question. So that do I need to?
Does that answer your question, Miss?
That answers my question. If we're not, because my understanding of this whole process, that this was not a license. This was simply a registration with the board and proof of insurance.
So would this just be a wording change?
Yes, ma'am. It would be.
Just changing?
Do I need to? Does there need to be a motion to alter that wording?
I believe that would be appropriate.
You want me to do it in the form of asking whoever made the motion to put that in their motion, or do I need to?
I would just make the motion that the word licensed in question 3 be changed to registration, if you would like.
That suits me.
I made the motion, and I reckon my motion should be amended to make that word changing.
Second, Anita Taylor.
I'm sorry, that was Wayne Hinkle speaking.
I'm going to do a roll call vote now. Robert Helms,
Yes.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Gray Sowell,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes.
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Motion passes. All right.
All right. Mr. President, this time, that concludes the removal services rules. All we needed to do today was to address the removal services regulatory flexibility analysis and not the economic impact statement. So that will wait until the rulemaking hearing is held.
All right.
And so at this time, we will discuss the changes to the November 2012 rules that were held during the November rulemaking. And first of all, I would like to discuss the reciprocal licensing fee. As you will recall, the board approved Rule 0660-03-.05, which allowed for a non-refundable application fee of $200 and a $235 licensing fee on top of that. Following our discussions with the Attorney General's office, it became apparent that the board does not have the authority under the funeral statutes to assess two separate fees. Therefore, I would make a recommendation to the board that the board consider changing the rule to allow for one fee of $435.
All right.
That is for a reciprocal license.
Yes, ma'am.
Will this be for a funeral director's license and then an additional $450 for an embalmer's license?
Can you repeat the question, Ms. Sowell?
This would be for each license,
For the funeral directors and the embalmers, yes, ma'am.
not a combination, each, for each one.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second from Wayne Hinkle.
We have a motion from, was it Robert Helms?
David Neal.
Excuse me, David Neal, second from Wayne Hinkle. Ms. Mosley, will you call the roll, please?
Robert Helms,
Yes.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Gray Sowell,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes.
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motion passes.
Carries. Thank you.
Mr. President, at this time, I would like to discuss the requirements for crematory. As you will also recall that during the November 2012 rulemaking hearing, the board approved Rule 0660-09-.01, specifically subsection 3, which allowed for more than one human body to be placed in a retort at a time if written permission was received from the personal representative for each individual body. Upon our discussions with the Attorney General, I would recommend at this time that the board consider withdrawing that single rule.
So moved.
Second, Anita Taylor.
We have a from Ms. Sal and second from Anita Taylor. Ms. Mosley, would you please call the roll?
Robert Helms,
Yes.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Grey Sal,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes?
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motion passes.
Mr. President, at this time, this concludes the legal matters to be discussed today.
All right. Are there any other matters to come before the board today?
No, sir.
All right. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn. David Neal.
David Neal,
Anita Taylor.
Ms. Taylor, second. All in favor? We'll call the roll, Ms. Mosley.
Yes. Robert Helms,
Yes.
Wayne Hinkle,
Yes.
David Neal,
Yes.
W.T. Patterson,
Yes.
Jane Grey Sal,
Yes.
Robert Starkey,
Yes?
Anita Taylor.
Yes.
The motion passes to adjourn.
Thank you. This concludes the meeting.